can see by the lack of kit parts in my box, it means that I am finally well underway on my State Line Kitbash Challenge project. Today's episode, we're going to take a look at the back of the pack, pretty much those of us who got late starts but are coming on strong, as well as we'll take a look at our first front runner, someone who is nearly done with their Kitbash project. Okay, I think I hear Cody filing away on his workbench, so let's go over and take a look at what he's up to.
Well, as I mentioned in our kickoff video, I had a few different ideas for buildings I was going to model. Ultimately, I went with the Village of Richfield Public Works building. What I really like is this brick front end here, and that was really easy to replicate using the N-Scale Architect HO scale brick sheet. I laminated that to a piece of 20 thousandths styrene, and then I used a piece of 80 thousandths back here as a filler for the roof, and that's really nice. I'm in the process of just getting the edges here. I'm going to put in a strip of styrene filler and carry some of that brick sheet around the corner, and then I'll use some styrene strip as the cap. Now on the sides, I'm going to use the supplied windows. However, if you have this kit, you know that this is not the original door. This is actually a Pike Stuff number 1107 roll-up freight door here. I trimmed the flanges off of it. This is designed to go on a building, and it's got this little lip on it. I just trimmed off the lip so it's fitting in flush with the block here, and then I'll just mask that off and paint it. I'm also going to use that door on the front of the building as well. Now for these two windows here, which are vertical on the front and horizontal on the back, I'm going to use some Tichy Train Group number 8046 9-pane masonry windows. The nice thing is they can go either way and look right, so that's the look I'm going to go for here. Well, I've got a lot more sanding and filing to do, but I'm heading in the right direction, so pretty soon we'll have this guy in the spray booth ready for some primer. We'll check our seams one more time, and then we'll put on the final colors.
Well, it looks like Cody's off and rolling. Now, another person who's off and rolling is Steve Brown. If you were confused by his update in our previous video, so were the rest of us. And the reason being is that we actually ran his second update first. So we thought we'd show you his first update now, and you can get an idea of what it is Steve's actually modeling. All right, so here's Steve.
Thanks, David. Hey, rail fans, let me show you what I'm doing for my version of the State Line Kitbash Challenge, and that is this. I decided to turn that little structure into an engine servicing and maintenance facility to take care of the switchers I'm going to have over at the Brownsville yard. Now, it's only meant to handle switchers and one at a time and for light duty kind of stuff, okay? So there's the premise. But to do that, I wanted to get the entire switcher inside the structure. So what I ended up doing was taking another one of these kits I already had established on the layout, taking it apart and splicing pieces onto the kit that we got from MRVP. Now here's the thing, it was real easy to take that structure apart because I used super glue to do it. I see in the back, more windows and a freight door. We'll never use super glue on our plastic again. But anyway, I made it longer to handle the entire switcher being inside. And then I also decided that this building has been repurposed from some other structure and it needed to be taller to support the maintenance and stuff that's going to be going on inside. So I went ahead and I added 10 feet to the top of the kit just by using some siding, some styrene I had lying around, cut it, put it on there. Because this is a repurposed facility, I don't know what used to be here, they didn't tell me, but because it's repurposed, the brick can't handle the load of the new top piece they put on there. So what they ended up doing was putting these H columns in all around the side of the structure to support the new lid. That was pretty exciting, and it gave me an opportunity to put in some more detail on this thing. As you see me turning it around here, you see it kind of has some dimension to it now. It's pretty cool. I made me an opening here for the switchers to go in by making this entire piece. I figured they made an entire new front end for this deal, and I framed it in, and I took some, basically the same roofing material, but I scored it a little bit, glued it in for a mostly rolled up freight door kind of thing that they'll close when the switcher's inside, and they all go home after work. Turning around a little further, I've got the two freight doors going on back here, and as you know, one of the things I really enjoyed about this kit was all these windows, freight doors and stuff gave us so many possibilities of things to do. But this freight door was unnecessary, and so what I figured they did is they took and they put block or brick into that freight door, framed around it, put a man door in, boom, I got rid of that opening. As I turn it around though, see all these cool windows they've got on here? I really like them, but the problem with this kit for what I'm doing is this. I want to be able to see through and see all the cool little details and stuff I got going on in there. But as we do that, we're gonna see the back of these little window frames here. See these bad boys right here? And the thing is, they've got these, very hard to see, but they've got these little sort of alignment pins for the glazing that goes in the window. Now here's the thing, this glazing is pretty thick, and when you look through the structure and you see it, it just doesn't look close to real, all right? And I've tried to be somewhat real with what I do. So what I've done is I went through and I cut off all those little alignment pins completely, and once I glued these windows in, I went through and sanded the back of them as much as I could to make them as thin as possible. So when I look through now, it's kind of hard to tell that they sort of stick out from the inside of the plastic. I think that looks pretty cool. Keep in mind, I'm going to light up the entire inside of this thing with LEDs when the time comes. So you're going to be able to see a lot of detail and stuff in there. I'm pretty stoked about it. I wanted to use the original roof that came with the kit by splicing on pieces from my old kit. The problem with that is this ridge right here, I just couldn't get rid of it. And by the time I paint the top of this, you're gonna see that ridge and I'm never gonna be happy with it. So what I did is I went through and I made me a new one using the old one as a template. But you can see here that to stick with the rules, it's clearly recognizable that I've got the kit here, here, and here, and quite frankly, with the windows and the doors and all that, that's about all I'm gonna be able to use. The next thing I need to do is build me a deck that this sits on, and then paint it, weather it, add some more surprise details I'm gonna put in later, and boom, we have a finished project. So anyway, again, this has been a ton of fun. I'm totally digging it. And as a sidebar, when Hal Miller is done with his wharf buildings, you got to send them to me, people, because I got a port going back here that needs wharf buildings. I thought that would just be awesome. So anyway, there's my update. Now, David, back to you in the studio.
At this point, let's take a look at one of our first front runners, and this front runner is actually done. This comes from George Blair. Now, George sent this in through Instagram, and George modeled a 1950s Texaco gas station as he remembers them in his state of Texas growing up as a kid. Basically what he's done is he's lopped off the back of the kit and kept the roof extension over it, but made an outdoor bay in order to be able to service automobiles and things like that. And then he used the kit wall sections that he took off and made this lovely little side piece here. Now he used a trick that we've seen Steve Oddie do before on previous projects, and that is take aluminum foil and press it between two pieces of corrugated evergreen styrene in order to create very thin tin roofing, essentially, and he weathered all that up and stuck it on there as well. He also has included a detailed interior in his kit, and most of this is made with styrene shapes and little paper cutouts. It's a really clever trick, and we've seen a lot of other people do this too. So, George Blair, thank you for sending these things in. Your State Line Kit Bash looks great. In-house, our own front runner is Cathy Millen, and she's already up to the painting and weathering stage on her State Line project. Let's take a look at what Cathy's got for us.
We're on to the fun bit. Painting and weathering. This is where the buildings come to life. So whatever you've kit bashed, you may need to blend it all together. And in this case, I just sprayed it inside and out with some white primer, just to make sure that everything looked the same colour before I started. I painted the roof with a black-grey Vallejo paint. I like black-grey rather than just a straight black because it's easier to weather to that slightly faded look. I then put loads of pigments on it, and you can see over here I've been picking it up with my fingers. I haven't sealed them because this is eventually going to go on the layout. And probably when I put it on there, I'll just give it a little bit of a touch up along the edges where I've handled it. For the walls though, I wanted to start off with some enamel weathering sort of streaking grime they're called, that I have from AK Interactive, and they are really good for adding just some depth to the brickwork into the mortars as if things been growing there. And you can see I used quite a lot of green tones because I wanted this to just look a bit yeah, weathered and worse for it. And there's a lot of water around on the seafront, so I thought, yeah, I was going with that sort of tone. I also then used some grey just plain pigments Again, AK Interactive Pigments, just to add some other areas of streaking and dirt and different textures. They're matte, whereas everything up to that point had been quite shiny. I also wanted to do an interior, so it's got a little bit of streaking. This is more just splatters and a little bit of mud. It's not going to be clean inside, but it's not going to be filthy dirty either. And finally, I added in the glazing. Now, I could have put in the Wolfers glazing that came with the kit, but it's quite thick and chunky. So what I used in the end was glue and glaze, which is like a glue that you put in and it dries clear. And you can just squeeze it across the opening from the actual bottle. So it's very easy to use, as long as you don't mind the fact your windows don't look particularly flat. But I think this could almost be like a glass block kind of area. So I'm quite happy with that effect here, and I don't want to see all the way through. I like that distorted view through as you're looking at the port area. So there we go, inside and out, very simple. Well, I've nearly finished. This isn't in permanently yet because I'm going to do loads of work around this area. This is actually a bit uneven. I need to put a road in. So I want to be able to take the building out. So I've actually just put it in place for now with a little bit of plasticine, grey plasticine, which more or less masks any waves or dips in my base and lets it bed down really nicely. It's a really good way of filling in the bottom of buildings. But other than that, a little bit of pigment just to hide all the gaps and put some weathering around on the base, and we're done. Easy peasy.
Well, it's hard to believe that this was a box of plastic parts that were largely just held together with masking tape a week ago, but here you go. This is my State Line project, and it is, ta-da, a mini dealership. Now, I don't know if I've broken the rules to my own competition or not, but since I was one of the last people to get started on the project, I went around and I scarfed up unused kit parts from other people. So, for instance, like these little extensions to my front wall section here, this is parts left over from Cody's unused front wall from his kit. And then this little garage door right here, that was a gift from Jenny's project. She and Ben Lake used the scan and cut in order to make the doors for her kit, and she had one left over. I painted it up and put it on the side here so you can get the minis in and out of the showroom. With all these glass windows, I knew I had to do a detailed interior of some sort. So where did I spend my 50 bucks? I spent it on buying little mini models off of eBay in order to get them to populate the inside. As a matter of fact, I even have a vintage one here, as I've seen in some mini showrooms. I made all the interior details out of an assortment of things. First of all, you've got some styrene parts in order to make like partitions, little desks, things like that. Painted them up. They'll get people and chairs and everything else once I get close to finishing things out. But the other thing I did too is that I created interior wall decorations by simply visiting my local mini dealer and getting some well, sales brochures. I've scarfed some figures out of our figure box, including things like this. It's just a little pop machine that was laying around, so he's going to be installed into the service area too, just to make it look like there's some activity. Needless to say, I'm pretty happy with the progress on my State Line mini dealership in the last week, and I hope in the next couple of days to have the interior details completely finished so I can start on interior lighting. But that's a video for another day. In the meantime, if you want to play along with our State Line Kitbash project, remember, pick up a kit and then post your photos to Instagram or to our Facebook page. And if you use Instagram, remember to put hashtag State Line Kitbash so we can see the results. All right? Next time, we're going to take a look at some people who have already started into their kits. We've had their first updates. We'll find out what kind of progress we're making. We'll see you there.